Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Time Out with Kaleb Stoppel. Kaleb is the Director of Athletics for the Wichita Public Schools, longtime AD at Olathe East. And every week, he joins us on the podcast to talk about mental health issues and mental fitness for athletic directors. We'll be right back with Kaleb, but first, let's take a break and hear from our podcast sponsors. We want to thank Final Forms for their support of the Educational AD podcast. Final Forms is the industry leader in registration, but Final Forms is more than just forms. Final Forms is a team, it's technology, and it provides schools with compliance, communication, and risk management solutions. Final Forms helps your stakeholders with mobile accessibility and has reminders for parents about policies, about physicals, and all the forms that go with being an athlete. Final Forms can help with team communication, with attendance, and even certification management for coaches. And for athletic directors, Final Forms helps with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. And it does this with secure language translation, and it's ADA compliant. You know, it's time for you to take the next steps with a team that's also walked in your shoes. Go to finalforms.com/Jake for more information. Once again, that's finalforms.com/Jake to get started with Final Forms. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year, while also creating the ultimate game day experience for your athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. They're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They've got a variety of interactive touchscreen consoles and an entire library of templates to help recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments by going to vitalsignswalloffame.com. You can also call them at 614-981-3589 or shoot them an email to sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Huddle for their support. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help their teams play better using video and analytics. You're in pretty good company. With over 6 million total users, including your student athletes and the coaches that you're trying to get to recruit your kids. Huddle is also built for every level of play, from club and youth teams all the way through high school and college programs, and even the pros use Huddle to help their teams play at the highest level. To find out more about what Huddle can do for you and your program and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We also want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also gives the 95% of the players and parents who really love your program a voice and helps demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Again, Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack sponsor the Athletic Director's Toolbox segment on the podcast, and they are the team to help you take your athletic program from good to great. And we want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can find out more about what Hometown Ticketing can do for you and your program by going to hometownticketing.com and talk to their experts. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Time Out with Kaleb Stoppel. Every Tuesday, we're visiting with Dr. Kaleb Stoppel, longtime athletic director, and he's going to be sharing in a series that's starting out with a focus on mental health, mental fitness for athletic directors. Kaleb, welcome back, and what do you got for us this week?
Yeah, Jake, nice to see you. Thanks for having me back. Hello to everybody out there as well. So last time we talked and we kind of set the stage with the fact that our jobs are awesome, but they're also really hard. And how do we accept that we have an awesome job and a hard job? And how do we accept our servant leader responsibility and the work ethic that comes in with that, while also developing a balance and really walking a very tight line so that we don't burn ourselves out, that we don't do damage overall to our mental health and that mental fitness that Jake talked about, because that is a very slippery slope, and I believe I'm preaching to the choir. And so this episode is going to focus on the fact that it's okay to recognize that, it's okay to not be okay, and what resources are out there to help servant leaders like ourselves when we're trying to help others through their own mental health. So how can we have mental health concerns? Okay, I want to talk about that today. And then I also, at the tail end of this episode, I want to talk about myself a little bit, which is, not always easy to talk about ourselves, but I want to be super transparent with you all today. And I want to talk about my own journey through mental health and balance, and how I'm trying to overcome some challenges and adversity. So, and then right back, when we come back from a break, we'll jump into it.
Okay. Wow. Again, you and I have been speaking off camera for a while, and I just want to thank you for, number one, sharing or helping create this series, and then again, as you alluded, sharing your own life and some of the things that you have dealt with. So it's going to be great for our listeners. Let's go and take a quick break, but we will be right back with Dr. Kaleb Stoppel on Time Out with Kaleb. Please stay with us. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for their support of Time Out and the Educational AD podcast. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to track and improve your entire athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also connects you with 95% of the parents and the student athletes that really love your program, and it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the folks at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help their teams play better using video and analytics. Huddle's the complete performance platform. They've got online tools, smart cameras like the Huddle Focus. There's always been analytics, but there's a whole lot more. Huddle's also built for every level of play, from club and youth teams all the way through high school and college programs, and even the pros use Huddle to help their teams play at the highest level. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes and the coaches of the teams you're trying to get to recruit them. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and your program and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Welcome back, everyone, to Time Out with Kaleb Stoppel. Kaleb, again, you've been leading up to this idea of mental health, mental fitness for athletic directors. Help us, handle this. How can we do a better job with our lives and maybe even help others at the same time?
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of specifically target one resource here in a second, but if you remember last episode, we talked about a support system, and I think that we need to be very careful to be reminded that the support system is the number one resource and the number one tool, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it's coworkers. Have that system around you, because there is power in being reminded or being told, or at least just having someone there for you, having a fan, having a cheerleader. And so if you don't have that person, seek them out through your networks, through your social, your friends, through your professional networks. Find someone that you can attach to, and maybe you can share some of your successes. You deserve for someone to, maybe give you that pat on the back, or for you to just be able to talk about what you do and talk about, hey, I did something good today. So find that support system and really dive into it if you haven't already. The second piece that is the most important piece of this conversation is something that's going to extend a little bit deeper than a support system. And that is just pure professional help. And I think sometimes we as educators, in an education system, we are primarily focused on how we help others, how we help kids, how we help maybe even other adults, but a lot around kids, right? Social emotional work that we do in education now is by far what I think an increased emphasis than it was over the years, and I think is more important now than ever. Think about what we're all working with. Some days more of a struggle than not coming out of COVID. We're seeing issues with students and student athletes on the response, the outcome of what it's been like to be out of school. I don't know what it's like all around the country, but I bet some of us, all of us, experienced what it was like to have a sudden halt in teaching and learning, in school, in athletics, in playing, because all of us were probably shut down in some type of form at some time. That has had damage. That's had damage on us. It's had damage on coaches, but we as educators have seen that damage in kids. And so when we think about social emotional as educators, I bet the majority of us all of a sudden think about, well, yeah, we're talking about that a lot in my school building. We're talking about a lot of that with, my coaches, to how we get our kids, make sure we're supporting our kids, and how we're doing this all with kids. But what about us? What about us as adults, A of all, but then what about us as athletic administrators? Again, I think that just how our profession is set up and the amount of responsibility that is set on our shoulders as athletic leaders, that maybe, hopefully I'm wrong, but maybe we don't take the time to look at ourselves in the mirror and think about, how am I doing? Because I'm always thinking about how's my coaches doing? How's my kids doing? How are my parents handling this? Because I got to be there for them a little bit too. So we spread ourselves a little bit thin, but then sometimes we don't even look in the mirror to be able to stop and say how we're doing. And so this folds back into the conversation we had previously about balance, but then now we're taking that a step deeper into truly pressing the pause button and taking some selfish time. I know we're not selfish. I know ADs are not selfish, okay? But we have to be when it comes to our mental health, because we have got to look in the mirror more often and say, how am I doing? Because I don't know, we're maybe all in different walks, and maybe we're all in different paths. And I'm going to talk about my own experiences and journey in a little bit, but I bet we're not all okay all the time. And at some point, the stresses, the difficulty in keeping things in balance, just the overall energy that it takes to do what we do, it does take a toll, folks. And just like batteries need to be recharged, gas tanks need to be refilled. At some point, our batteries or our gas tanks are running low and maybe even run out. And that is what we have to be very, very cautious of happening in any time. But right now, more than ever, I mean, maybe we would all agree, hopefully, that life is a little bit hard right now. We have a lot of challenges right now in 2022. And if we are expending all of our gas tank and battery, we're in a tough spot, okay, personally and as a leader. So let's talk about what we can do. Let's talk about some resources. First, I want to throw out the best resource and direction I can. And so if you're someone that's saying, boy, I am struggling and I don't really know where to turn. I got my buddies, I got my friends, I got my family, but like it's not good enough. I'm struggling. Something's going on. Professional help is necessary and it's okay. And if you are someone that is saying, yep, I want to look into that, your first check should be with your organization, your school / your school district, whatever your organization is referred to. You know, you work for somebody pays your checks. And as a part of that employment, you likely have benefits, right? And typically, and I would hope that more places than not, now in 2022, part of your benefits include Employee Assistance Program, EAP. And in that program offers a multitude of things, okay, but offers some counseling support, whether, and it's pretty cool. And I think, again, maybe we're not all in the same kind of systems and resources, but I think a lot of those vendors that provide these services to school districts are very similar, but they provide services with local counselors and therapists in your community, whether in person, whether telehealth visits. There are resources at disposal through these organizational benefits. So my first homework assignment for you is to research what your benefits are in your organization and what your organization can do to support you and your mental health. Okay, because I'm taking a bold assumption here and bet that your organization has something and they will support you through that. And it's free. It's part of your benefits. Okay. Okay. So next step, you say, okay, I looked into that. Yep, there's something I can take advantage of, and I'm going to call this number. Awesome. Because guess what? That is okay. Go for it. The stigma of reaching out for help, getting professional help, going to a therapist, going to a shrink, whatever you want to call it, I hope that is becoming by the wayside. Because in 2022, if you're not maybe reflecting enough to be like, life is tough, my job is tough, like I'm trying to balance all this stuff. If you're not, maybe recognizing that life is tough, then that's okay. And maybe life is a good spot right now for you. But I also want to push you a little bit into the uncomfortable spot to say, if it's not okay, then that is okay. Because more people are not okay right now than they are okay. Okay. And that doesn't define you. That doesn't make you a weak person. That doesn't make you anything. It makes you an honest person. Because if we aren't able to recognize that maybe things aren't so good and something's going on, then you're not able to take the next step to getting better. And we're not talking about this big mental health label that now you're scarred for life and you're just this type of person. No, this is like a touch and go thing. And this is something that you can get very prescribed help at that moment in time to get you back on track. All right. And that's what mental health support is. And so through these EAP programs, getting matched up with some type of provider, whether it's a counselor, a therapist, whether it's telehealth on a Zoom call or a phone call, or whether it's in person, it is magical stuff. And I challenge all of you to keep that in mind, to pursue that. Okay. So that's just one example that I dove really deep into through your employee assistance program. And if you're not even sure where to look to see if your organization has that, reach out to your human resources department. Okay. Because then likely they will either patch you into that information directly, or they will patch you into, typically it's like the benefits and insurance kind of department of your school district. It is there. And if it's not there, a good organization will help you find that resource. I promise. Okay. All right. I want to kind of transition into the last piece of this. Okay. We've learned I want to backtrack just for like 30 seconds. We learned in the first episode that, hey, our job's hard. Well, Kaleb, we didn't learn that, man. It's already hard. Okay, we recognize that. We recognize that although it's not ideal and it's not in our contract, we're burning the midnight oil. We're putting in 80 and 90-hour weeks. We are the first car there and the last car to leave. And we recognize that that's not healthy, but also like it's kind of the job. I got to be there for others. I can't let people down. Okay. This episode, we learned a little bit about maybe there's some things I can do. Maybe there's some resources I can pursue. Maybe between my own personal support system and some professional help, I have some solutions to pursue if when I look in the mirror, I can't quite tell myself I'm doing okay. And again, recognizing that it's okay to not be okay, because guys, we all have bad days. And some of those bad days are a little bit deeper than just bad days. All right. I want to kind of conclude today with this episode with kind of just being pretty transparent with you. All right. And I'll kind of rewind to just these past really 4 years of being an athletic administrator and assistant principal at both the middle school level and then most recently the high school level. Just like we've been talking about, it hasn't been an easy ride. There's challenging days. There's days where you have to make hard decisions. There's days where it feels like I've upset more people than I've made happy through the decisions I've made. And you walk home kind of feeling defeated and saying like, boy, I feel like I'm on an island. Even with my support system intact, I say, am I even doing any good? So and then you look back and say, well, and I haven't seen my kids or my family in a few days because I'm waking up, I'm getting to school before they're awake and I'm getting home after they're asleep. And so I've had some work-life balance struggles, and I personally been trying to take some steps to recognize that I don't have to get to school at 6 a.m. or earlier, and I don't have to stay late just to get work done for the next day. Folks, work will always be there. Work will always be there. You will never check off all of your agenda items. And if you think you will, kudos, keep working, but also recognize that when the time comes when you realize you can't check them all off, that's okay. And that's normal. Okay. So my path already kind of work, and I was in pursuit of the work-life balance, and I still am. But, this past month, or actually back in March, I had a pretty traumatic, incident occur at work. And, it involved me doing my job. As you guys know, a part of our job is keeping people safe. Safety and security is a part of being an athletic administrator. And so as an assistant principal and athletic director, doing my duty at school to investigate and keep the school safe, and resulted in some traumatic events happening, and kind of we'll just leave it at that, and we can talk a little bit more in private. And there's some stuff on the news if you want to research about a Lake East high school, and everything's okay and I'm okay. But guys, trauma can happen, physical things can happen. And what I have learned through that, and I want to share right now with you guys, is it doesn't have to take a really big event that makes the news, or it doesn't have to take something that is life-threatening. Trauma can happen in a lot of different forms. Trauma is something that kind of jolts or shakes your physical and mental being enough that it really gets into the fundamental space, the space that like makes us kind of human, the stuff that makes us react to things that we don't think about, whether it's the part of the brain where if you touch something hot, it's going to just instinctively remove your hand. It's the part of your brain that tells you to breathe, even though we're not telling ourselves to breathe, right? So there's certain functions in your brain that are regular and they're automatic. Some of those functions have to deal with how you respond to events, to stimulus, to scary things, to fight or flight type of events. And so what I want to kind of share with you guys is, I've been seeing a therapist very regularly. I've been doing the work to try and not tough trauma out. Okay. but I've been doing the work to try and walk alongside trauma so that I can understand it, I can accept it, and then I can work to grow. And I think that's something that I would encourage you, no matter what you're going through, whether it's just something personal, something at home, something that's just, you're just having more bad days than good days, or you're having some things that are kind of rocking your world. Okay, guys, here's another quick example. Even if you experience, let's say, a car accident, you don't think that that's going to impact, your job. Okay, we have to recognize that there are outside stimulus that may have nothing to do with our job that are going to affect us. They're going to affect us mentally. And so I think just bringing some presence into the conversation that recognizes it's okay to think and focus on your mental state, your mental health. I think Jake called it your mental fitness, because just like the work we put into keeping our body healthy, we got to put in the work to keep our mind healthy. And a very important component of that is seeking out help. And me, my own experience talking to a therapist has been fantastic, and probably going to be one of those things that I continue to do for a long time, whether it's part of this recent incident or not. And something that's made me reflect on my time before the incident in March, and just kind of say, why wasn't I talking to a therapist before now? Right. I mean, it made me think about, boy, I was a dummy for not going out and seeking help earlier, because we shouldn't have to burden everything that we have to do by ourselves. So what I will kind of leave you with is a few reminders. Okay. One, it is okay to, not be okay, because our job is hard, and we do a darn good job with our job, because we're leaders. We're leaders first and foremost, and we want to serve others, but we have to serve ourselves. And by serving ourselves, we have to look out for ourselves. The second piece is lean on your support system and lean on professional help. Seek out professional help. Look through your organization to get hooked up with a counselor or therapist. And the third is be open-minded to talking to others, sharing your story. It's okay to talk about this with others, especially in your trusted circles. All right.
Wow. Great stuff. Again, you saw me scribbling down notes. I'm really looking forward to the rest of this series, and thanks, Kaleb, for, being so open, with your own personal story. Very few athletic administrators, I think, are ever going to have to deal with what, you've gone through, and as you said, continuing to work through it. But thanks so much for sharing. You talk about that circle. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and, pick your brain, add you to their circle, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
Yes, I would love to connect. I would love to email and then follow up with phone call. So as I transition to my new job in Wichita, I'm going to give you that email address because it's up and working now. That email is KSTOPPEL@USD259.net. So get a hold of me anytime. I would love to connect. I will get on a phone call with you afterwards. You're not alone, folks, both professionally, personally through this. We are a huge family of ADs, and we got each other's back.
Absolutely. Dr. Kaleb Stoppel. We're going to do this every Tuesday. Our new series is called Time Out with Kaleb Stoppel. Thanks for being with us. Look forward to seeing you next week, and all the best.
All right. Pleasure, Jake. Thank you, sir. Everybody, have a good week.
For our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews get uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks for listening today. Come back again next Tuesday for more Time Out, and just about every day for the Educational AD Podcast. Take care. Again, we want to thank Kaleb for sharing his heart. This series is going to air every week, every Tuesday. Time Out with Kaleb Stoppel. Also want to thank our sponsors. We couldn't do it without our sponsors. Final Forms, Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack, Wall of Fame by Vital Signs, Hometown Ticketing, Huddle, and Sideline Interactive. Thanks for their support. Thanks for your listening. Also, we couldn't do it without the listeners. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.